My guest today is Anthony Loom. He is the founder of Mean Right Hook, right being spelled W-R-I-T-E. He gets into it a little bit today about how he came up with that, but I think it's a pretty cool name. He has been doing social media for many years for a lot of companies, including Just Eat and Pret a Manager. Not sure what that is, but he will get into that hopefully too. And now he creates authentic and engaging video content for corporate and personal brands on LinkedIn. So today we get into all the things about why businesses and B2B needs video. What are the objections? What to do when you really don't want to be on video? And a whole lot more. So let's jump right in. Hey, Anthony, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I'm excited to talk to you.
Linda, I'm so excited to be here. Let's do this.
This is, you know what? I have mixed feelings about this topic because in full transparency, I am really demotivated by LinkedIn lately. I don't know if people say, I don't blame the algorithm. Maybe your content just sucks. But I've been doing this for 3 years, like consistently posting on LinkedIn. And everyone, it's not just me, has been telling me, their views are down, their engagement is down, and it's really demotivating. It's hard to get motivated to keep posting when it feels like you're just shouting into the void. What's your take on that, first of all? Like, is that something that's happening across the board?
I get it. I get what you're saying, and that's kind of why I'm in the business, to be honest with you. Before doing my own business, I've been in social media for 13 years, doing it for guys like Pret a Manager and Just Eat. And so from a B2C background, the content has always been about how to take a brand and be exciting and be part of a conversation on social media, not just advertising and sell you a sandwich or sell you something, but to really be a part of culture. And so that's, where I cut my teeth, so to speak, right? And so when I looked into the opportunities of what I could create a business in, LinkedIn for me is that place where I feel a lot of people are still, where we know the power of it. We've made connections on LinkedIn, but at the same time, we're still missing that piece where our voice is connecting with our audience, right?
Yeah.
And we read a lot of things where it's like, oh, if you post every day, you'll get there, or if you whatever. And it's all very algorithmic. It all feels like, hey, if I tick these boxes and did these exercises, then I will get to the promised land. And the truth is that, especially with how TikTok has changed the game in the algorithm, it's no longer like, hey, if you have a million followers, you're guaranteed to have that much reach. It's based on how well you've told your story in your content. Then it deserves the reach that it gets, right?
Yeah.
And so, especially on TikTok, even if you got like 1 million followers, if your content is rubbish, it's not going to get the impressions because it's TikTok can see that their audience is not taking to it. So, and it's the same for LinkedIn, right? And I think the good news is that your content isn't bad. Your content is always great. What you have to offer is incredibly valuable. It's just how we tell that story on that platform that's kind of hindering us from getting to our audience, right? Mm-hmm. So I equate this to Trevor Noah and The Daily Show. The guy, superstar, before he even got to Daily Show, he was doing stand-up comedy. And the jokes he tells on stage, on the stand-up stage, and the jokes he tells on television, on Daily Show, has to be different because the stage is different, the audience is different, the medium is different, right? And it's the same for us for LinkedIn content. It's like, how I'm delivering right now on a podcast, it has to be different than how I'm delivering a piece of content on LinkedIn because the context is different. How people are consuming this is different, right? If we, someone's listening to this right now, they're fully prepared to listen to, from our first word to the last because they know how long it is going to be. They clicked on it. They're like, let's go. I've got half an hour. We're going to listen.
They're hanging on to every word.
Every single word. Every word. But on social media, in particular on LinkedIn, LinkedIn's average time is something like 7 minutes and 30 seconds per user, and so and that's divided by all those posts, right?
Right.
And so we've got to be able to kind of state our case or make our piece within that time, and we have to earn that time for them to interact with the audience. So I think that's why I started my business, or I've pushed my business that direction, because I feel like just so many of us have so many good things to say, but it's just to be able to present it in a way that is digestible on LinkedIn and enjoyable to consume on LinkedIn.
And that's where you think the video is like that. That sounds like it's a backstory really to what brought you to specializing in video, because that is what you do now, right?
Yeah, it's a happy accident. I think maybe like a lot of things in life, but I've done social media content for a very long time, and what it's always been is about authenticity. It's about being as true to what your brand or personal brand values are, and be able to express that in a way that's not forced and that's not salesy. That's how you connect, right? A lot of people can do advertising copy. That's fine if you sell a shoe, whatever. There's best practice on that. But to be able to express a brand and be able to have the other side, feel the impact of what the values are, and actually connecting on those values, that's hard, right? So what I've done in the past, on Twitter, and now, all the way, I started when MySpace was dying, and now I'm still here, right?
MySpace. Wow.
I know, last one to pass. But seeing the progression of that content, right?
Yeah.
We're going higher bandwidth, we're going higher, the ability to now speak on video and connect in video. And I think that there's two folds, right? One is technology is caught up. Like we all have our phones and we can all produce something.
Yeah.
Right. And in fact, that's what I actually use for my clients. I don't have a 12-person crew with like lights and all that stuff. I literally show up with my iPhone, and the content I create for them is the best performing content. And the other thing to think about is, with the rise of AI content, it's great sometimes, it can be helpful, a very helpful tool to help us be more creative and be faster with our creativity. But at the same time, there's the flip side of it, where there's a lot of people that are just lazy, and they're like, well, I'm an expert here. I'm just gonna, just press a button, and all of a sudden I'm an expert in copywriting. I'm an expert in real estate. I'm an expert in aviation, or whatever it is. And we're constantly going to be fighting against this wave of fake expertise.
Yeah.
And it makes it really hard for people to just trust content on face value. As the more they're facing this kind of content, the more they're like, well, why do I trust this person who's saying this thing? It sounds exactly like the other person who's saying the exact same thing.
Right.
This is going to be how authentic we can, how our values can connect with the people, and how authentic we can present ourselves. And video is going to be the thing that's going to help us get there, because it's one thing to type something and to press send. It's another to literally show up and tell you about it.
Yeah. And I agree. I was going to bring up the AI thing, because people on LinkedIn are complaining all over the place, rightfully so, about how comments are now AI generated. You can tell because they just repeat whatever you just said. The content itself is also being AI generated. And, I have nothing against AI. It's like any other tool. You have to use it the right way. Like, I use it for things like brainstorming, coming up with ideas, or clarifying. A lot of times I'm trying to come up with a word. This happened a couple times this past week. And I'm like, I want to use this analogy, but I can't figure it out. And I'll plug it into chat and say, how can I complete this sentence? And it always comes up with something that's like, that's what I'm looking for. To use it like that as a tool, and not to take over your whole like personality. And the thing, video, I mean, you can't fake that. I mean, you can, but not many people on LinkedIn are going to go through those, do deep fakes on LinkedIn. But that's how that the person actually said that, is when you see them speaking. So I think it's going to be more important than ever now. I mean, do you agree?
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole deepfake will come. There's no doubt. I've got enough footage out there for people to fake my face at some point. But at the same time, it's, what are we looking for here? Are we looking to fake our expertise? Are we looking to get a shortcut to I don't know, sounding, feeling good? Is this about our ego, or is this about actual impact? Is this about actual connections that we have with people? And if it's the latter, then it's about, doing things authentically. It's like sending a robot to do our networking. Would we do that? I don't think so, right?
I'd like to sometimes.
Because those are
At a networking meeting, sure. I have like my face on a screen. Just I don't have to be there.
Just press a button here if you'd like to talk to me for real at some point.
That's gonna be like that eventually. We'll be like robots in a room. But yeah.
Right. Imagine that, right? That's what LinkedIn is feeling like. It's a bunch of robots in a room, but there's one real person. Who are you going to talk to?
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting harder to break through that sometimes. But well, what do you think as far as video content? I see a lot of video on LinkedIn. The only video I really post are clips from a podcast like this. What do you feel is an effective type of video on LinkedIn and not effective?
I think it's hard to put it in a box, because I think once you put something in a box, you go, well, this is the formula. And that's like, it's actually not. The real formula is, and that goes all the way back to any content that we ever do, right? It's about finding what your story is and telling it well. That's it. Know your story, know how to tell it well. So the first thing is, and you would know this as a copywriter, is, understanding the brand and story and value behind all that stuff, right? Now, I'm going to say that's the origin of all your content. And you need to understand that well to be able to generate content that really resonates with the other side, with your audience, right? And the second is to tell it well, right? And it's like understand how LinkedIn works, how important it is for the first 2 lines, the first 2 seconds of a video, the job it needs to do to captivate the audience and to sell effectively the idea that this content is worthwhile hanging on and hanging out with. So that's, those are kind of, and then there's a whole bunch of nuances I've picked up over the years, such as, talking inclusively in your copy. Don't always like make yourself sound like you're just like shoving something down someone else's throat.
Right.
And all of that really helps kind of convey that well, right? So I think the more we're able to do that, and that's what I'm doing with my clients right now. It's not that, there's no way I will ever be like an expert like they are in their field, but the more I'm able to understand their story and their values and their perspective and what they offer, to the clients that no one else can, I can then take that story and go, right, here's what we need to do in order to put this point into a 1-minute video, right? They're the experts of their subject, but I'm going to look at that story and go, we need a strong opening in order to get the attention of people, and then we need pacing to be able to keep their attention. Once you earn their attention, you got to keep it, right? So that's I think that's the symbiotic relationship I'm going to have with my clients. Is half my job is listening, and to really understand not just what they're trying to say, but who they're trying to say it to, and how the others, how the clients are going to want to feel at the end of that. And so we, that's what we look for, is a video that can really cut to the heart of it.
What do you think? What's the value of being entertaining? Like, I see some people on LinkedIn who dress up as characters, and I actually love their videos. There's a couple of people I'm thinking of who go through a lot. I mean, I can tell this video took forever to create. How important is that? Is that something we need to do to get attention?
So I think that we, especially when we first start out, we look at all these people that are getting the most attention.
Yeah.
Right. The Gary Vaynerchuks, the people who dress up and all that stuff. And we're like, oh, I wish we can do that. And then we realize quickly sometimes that that's not us, right? That's not who we are. But we feel like that's where we have to go, because that's where we see success being done. Again, we go back to understanding who you are and what your values are and being truthful to that. That's how you're going to be successful. We're not talking about going mega viral. That is not the point here. The point is to be able to connect with your audience, with what you're saying, right? If you're connected on LinkedIn, that's who you want to talk to first and foremost. Going viral is bonus, right? Because those, they might not even be the people you're wanting to talk to,
right?
But if you're doing a piece of content and you're faking trying to be funny and you're not funny, that's even worse.
I know.
So always, stick by your values, right? Stick by your personality. If you're a thoughtful person, let's go with that. It's not about entertainment. It's about enjoyment. It's about the pacing of your delivery and pacing it in a way that's native to the platform and native to how people are consuming content, right? That's way more important than trying to be the next Jim Carrey.
Yeah. And there's only one Jim Carrey, that's for sure.
Yeah.
When it comes to hooking a person right out of the gate, now I know with copy, like I just finished a project where I'm doing a whole homepage for a client, and I spent 80% of my time working on that hero section, the very top section, and just really focusing on what is it that is going to make people look at this, realize it's for them, and then click on it and read the rest of the page. Because if you don't, 80% of people don't get past the headline. So I would imagine, like with video, is very similar, especially on LinkedIn, where people are kind of prepared to be bored. There's not a lot of people that stand out, boring to boring. That's what B2B is. And I have a hard time with like video where I try to be animated, but I need, like, if I'm on, like with the podcast with you, for some reason, when I'm with somebody else, I can be animated. I'm just more myself. And it's just me, I have a hard time with that. Why is that? Like, I need somebody to bounce things off of or something.
That's why I work with my clients, right? And it's like, it's really funny because, like, even when I do videos for myself, I wish I had somebody there to do it with me.
Yeah.
Right. It's such a sad scene when I'm doing videos because I'm like doing the tripod by myself, and I'm then looking at my script by myself.
And
I'm trying to hype myself up by myself, and I'm all alone. The behind the scenes of those videos are sad looking things, but at the same time, if I have someone else there, it's energizing.
Yeah,
it is that's you feed the energy off of it. For me, when I create videos for myself, I can see the end goal and I'm able to perform that way. I think that's what scripting does, is that it helps you understand your full piece before you say it, right? When we talk, in real life situations like this, we bounce off each other for ideas. We challenge each other so that we have something else that we know what to say next, right?
Right.
For video, you got nobody doing that for you. So you got to be able to really understand what you're trying to deliver and then deliver that. And so when I work with my clients, there's two ways I work with them to get that energy from them, right? One is to do a script so that, again, they understand from end to end what they're trying to deliver, and they already don't have to panic that, like, oh no, what if I miss, like, this really important thing? You won't miss it. We roll it down. It's going right there, right? And in the script, it's short lines. We're not doing a full, like, narrative. 2 minutes you got to remember. We're doing short lines so that as an editor later on, for me, I've got puzzle pieces I can put together into a good piece of content. Editing is magic.
Right.
It just takes all the ums and ahs away, all the insecurities away, and you sound as confident as you actually are.
Right.
And the other way I work with people is to kind of do something like this, where I'm filming them, but I'm using it as almost like an interview. So I'm basically prompting them to get content that I need and I envision needing to create a good piece of video. And a lot of times, the what they say at the end actually makes the best beginning. So I'm looking for puzzle pieces that I can piece together. And my job is to create an environment that is as stress-free and as hassle-free as possible so that they can be themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Because all that knowledge and all that expertise exists. Right. But what it doesn't when you're worried about what your next line is or how you look on camera, all of that gets sucked away, and you're just like deer in headlights. And that's I feel like that's what how my clients get the most out of doing videos with me.
And do you think that, so I know each platform, people tell you, just post the same thing across all platforms. That doesn't sound like it's anything you would recommend, right? Like, say you do a video for LinkedIn. Would you do the same one for Facebook? Would you do the same one for Instagram Reels? What's your take on that?
So my take on it is that, TikTok has, thank you, TikTok, for changing the language of video, because now a TikTok video, the expectation of a TikTok video is very similar to one on YouTube Shorts, is very similar to one on Facebook and on Reels, and now even on LinkedIn. Now, the difference I feel LinkedIn is that we're going to have a lot less emphasis on trends, on dances, on music, all those pop culture things. It's what we take from TikTok is the energy, the pacing, the storytelling element of it. But what we are going to probably need to focus more on is that kind of in-depth storytelling that we've come to know and love about LinkedIn. And so it's a hybrid between these two kind of platforms, where we're delivering something with more intent and with more, and the pacing has to be faster. But the content that's delivered is not going to be the same thing that's going to trend on TikTok.
Right.
At the same time, if you've already have an account and have a following on all these other platforms, you can use that same piece of content and go to all and still be effective on all of them. I've just posted one today where it's gone on LinkedIn, it's gone on Reels, it's gone on TikTok. It's doing way better on TikTok than on Reels.
Really?
That's so weird. I don't understand. So sometimes the algorithm just gifts you, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know where your audience is sometimes. But how I see it is that you have, as a brand or a personal brand, you have something you want to say with intent. And so why can't you say it on 3 different platforms? The people who follow you on those platforms, some are different anyways. So if you have something important to say, why wouldn't you say it in all 3 places?
Because I've been posting all of my videos, that everything I do on LinkedIn, I have a VA who's been posting on the other channels, the other networks, on Instagram Reels, which I'm not on actually. She just posted on there. Facebook, where I don't ever post myself. And it's been going on 6 months, and it's been big fat 0. Like, I'm not getting any leads. So I'm thinking of just putting all my energy back into LinkedIn, just switch it, because something's got to change. When you're putting all this money, because I'm paying her a boatload just to get all this stuff up, and it's not paying off. I mean, what would you suggest? Like, see how I sneak in like a free coaching, like.
I mean, that's
the benefit of my audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's what I think, right, is that, and I've taken this approach to all the brands I've worked with, is to be meaningful in one place before you go anywhere else, right? If you can't make one channel work for you, like, why are we trying to stretch ourselves, trying to be meaningful everywhere else, right? And so you think about your audience, where they hang out with, where your story and your relationship is most meaningful, and that's where you invest your most energy to. Sorry, and for Just Eat back in the day, there was a lot about third screening. We did a lot of news jacking and entertainment jacking. And so it made a lot of sense using Twitter at the time, right? Here's a takeout brand or takeaway brand that the character I can see in my head. It's like, Just Eat is just kicking back, watching TV every weekend, watching the football on TV, and having a takeaway and just like, hey guys, this is hilarious, right? That's the character, and that makes a lot of sense on that platform, and that's where we wanted the relationship to have the most. And it was a different relationship when I was at Pret. So for B2B, I feel like our primary channel, a lot of us should be on LinkedIn, because the intent is there, the audience is there, and we're, to your point, we're prepared to be bored, firing up LinkedIn, right? And when you are that voice that is not only reasonable and knowledgeable, but also actually quite pleasant and entertaining to follow.
Yeah.
I think that makes you a big makes a big difference. And I think that, it's not about, again, being funny if you're not, or it's about being yourself. And the more authentic you are, the more you're able to connect with people. And that's I feel like that's the dream.
What do you say to a CEO of a B2B company who says, I really just don't have time, and all they're doing is posting announcements that, they're going to be at such and such place, or that somebody got a promotion? I mean, what do you suggest if, they say that? Like, is it worth the time? I mean, how do you convince them to do something with video?
I'm so done with convincing people.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm so done with.
You can't really. Yeah.
When your mind is made up, here's the thing, right? Here's what I'm feeling is that there are going to be certain people. Maybe there's three groups of people. One is they are at the C-level and they've been incredibly successful without needing to connect with people. Right? And so it's like, why do I need to connect with them now? I'm successful. I don't need this. Right.
Right.
And those people, I can never convert them, because there is no need for them. Right. That's fine. That's your game. Everyone has a different way and different path to success. That's yours. I'm cool with that. Another is C-level, but they're like, I don't know why people would listen to me. I'm like, are you guys crazy? You guys made it to the top echelon of where we're all trying to be. Of course we want to listen to you. Of course we want to know how you got there, your struggles, your path, what you're doing now, why you make certain decisions, what you're having for lunch. Does that actually affect your decision making? I want to hear that too. So I think there's a imposter syndrome that lives in all of us. Everybody from the intern to a CEO has that, and it sounds crazy, but it has to be done. You have to get over it to be able to be confidently creating content, right? These are the same people that would just rock up to the boardroom and talk, on a presentation, no problem. But LinkedIn or the internet, oh no! Like I have this incredible fear. I think it's hilarious. But the third group is, I think, people that get it. I think that really has either a real ear to the ground, or they have a business where it's either small SMB, small medium-sized business, that what they do on LinkedIn affects and impacts them and their business immediately. And you can feel that impact. When you are a CEO of a large company, you don't feel that impact as much, right? And so those are the people that understand the value of relationships that are built in networking events, that are built on LinkedIn,
right,
that are built on emails, et cetera, right? Those people value content because they understand that it's like having a minute on stage on a TED Talk, and it's like you've got their attention for a minute. What are you going to say?
Right.
How are you going to connect your expertise to them? How are you going to make a connection with them? Because that's how you build relationships. Then that's how you're going to build them for the long term. So those are the people that I work with naturally, because there's no need to sell it to them. But I didn't get into my own business to sell people the idea that what I do is worthwhile.
Yeah.
Right? If you get it, you get it. And if you don't, and it's like, man, I can show you a few things and tell you a few stats, how like half of the social media traffic that goes to B2B sites come from LinkedIn, right? How we've reached 1 billion users on LinkedIn, and it's all like most of that growth came from the last 5 years. This thing is growing, and people are on it, right? So I can tell you all those things, but until you feel the impact for yourself, I don't think you're going to invest in it as much as someone who understands and feels that impact.
It's like, I was thinking about when I was a personal trainer, and because I had someone ask me, like, why did you get out of personal training? I mean, it's been a long time, but I said, you know what it is? You have to be self-motivated. a lot of people would hire me back in the day and say, I need you to get me out of bed at 6 in the morning. I need you to kick my butt. And it's like that. I don't want to do that. I'm not Jillian Michaels. I'm not like, I was never one of those screaming. In fact, I lost clients because I was not like a screaming, angry trainer. Because it's like, either I'm here because you want to work or just hire somebody else. But the people who were my best clients were the ones who they were usually kind of in shape. Some were even athletes and wanted to up their game, but they knew the value of what I did and they listened. They did what I showed them, and we worked together. Those were the people that stayed with me the longest. And to me, it's like, even with this, you have to see the value in any kind of marketing. You have to really see that you have to know it works. And you can't, like you said, you can't convince people. I can't convince anyone who ever hired me and said, I want you to wake me up, because I would stand, it's so funny. I'd show up, my first client was at 6 a.m. I used to do in-home training. So there have been more than once where I'm outside the door, ringing the doorbell, and there's no one answering. So I get on my phone and I hear the phone ringing inside the house. I don't care if I'm waking the whole house. It's 6 a.m. I got up to be here. And sometimes they just don't answer. Other times they answer and I say, well, it's up to you. They get up, they have bedhead, they got their pajamas on. Oh my God, I can't, and it's like, it's up to you. You're paying for this hour. So either I work out or not, but that's the most frustrating part. That's what I told this person. I said, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was like, you need to have people that have some kind of a basis at least, Well, one question I want to ask you quick is about the length of the videos, because I've been debating about that with myself. Is there a particular video length that works well on LinkedIn?
That's a good question, but also I think you're not gonna like this answer. It depends.
I don't like that answer.
Because
come up with something better.
Give me a minute. Let me just ask ChatGPT. No, it really depends on the story. So generally, like as a general rule, the videos I help create generally kind of land in like the 40-second to 90-second mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that I feel like is, most videos, if you can make a point in that time, great, wonderful. I think that the point isn't to preach at them for like 10 minutes. The point is to make an impact every time they fire up the app and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then every time they fire up and you show up and you make sense, that builds that trust further, right? That's the point. However, there are certain people whose certain content I feel like warrants more than that 1 minute or 1 minute and a half mark, right? There are people that have extreme knowledge in a certain subject that can go a full 5 minutes. But it all depends on how you deliver that piece of content, because if you can keep their attention for 5 minutes, go for it. But keeping their attention for 5 minutes is really hard.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to say something that's really impactful or really useful or exclusive almost. And so I think that it depends, right? But I would say generally aim for the 40-second to 90-second mark.
Okay. Because I try to keep mine on LinkedIn too. I have no attention span whatsoever. So I kind of use my own guidelines. I'm like, I try to keep it to around 30 seconds. But well, just one last question. So aside from hiring you, which is a great idea, and I'll put all your contact information in the show notes, do you have any tips for creating better quality video for the average person just posting on LinkedIn who wants more engagement?
Well, first, you got to start, right? Stop looking at your, when the selfie camera comes in, you stop cringing, because you look great. You're amazing. Get out there. Your knowledge is worthwhile. So you've got to first get over that, because I think that, I say that now, but I remember when I first started doing videos, that's exactly the same things I had to tell myself and had to get over. It's a lot like, going on stage and having, and talking on stage. There's a bit of a stage fright. And until you realize that your time, your knowledge, and what you have to say is worthwhile, then it's hard to get over, right? So I would say first is to hit that record button and just start recording, right? Get used to that feeling of recording yourself. Get used to that feeling of being recorded and talking and delivering something to camera. The more you're able to do it, the more practice you get, the more you're better at it. But The second thing is how how I work with my clients is stop trying to remember everything and delivering it all at once, because no one is actually going to want to hear a video of you talking and naturally for 5 minutes. It's not the place for it. And so think about what you're going to say, break into short lines, and then use software like either CapCut, which is absolutely free, or use Descript is what I use, and to stitch it together. And you'll be surprised, I think, by the results, because at first it seems so counterintuitive, but this is one of those things where look at the videos that you consume on TikTok, right? And you'll quickly realize that this is it's such a great way to be able to get yourself to start creating better content and getting yourself understood in this medium is effectively what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, awesome. So where can people find you? I'll put all your information down below, but where can they contact you?
Yeah, just look up Mean Right Hook on LinkedIn. That's me there. That's WRITE. It's a pun. It's a mix between my love of puns and my love of violence. And
You don't seem like a violent person.
no, I like play fighting. I like mixed martial arts, and I like professional wrestling. But and comic books, all that stuff, all that good stuff. And yeah, find me at Me Right Hook. I'm primarily on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram as well. If you try real hard, you can drop me a DM on X or Twitter. I'll blow off the dust off of that one. Just connect with you. It's a thick layer of dust, but we'll blow it up. But yeah, find me there. Would love to connect. Any questions or whatever. That I think let's have a conversation. My goal is to get everybody to love LinkedIn and get that feeling off of like, oh, I got to do this thing. No, you want to do this thing because there's a world ready for you, and you're going to be a great part of it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Anthony. It's been a blast, as I knew it would be.
It was so much fun, Linda. Let's do it again.
Yeah.